Hi and welcome to this How Do I video about creating custom web services for integration scenarios. At the end of this video you will know how to create and publish a web service with an extension. We will do that by following these steps. First we will look at publishing a page as a web service, and in step 2 we will see how a query can be published as a web service and what the difference is with a page web service. A page web service can be used to read and manipulate data in Dynamics 365. It follows the same rules as if the user entered the data directly in a screen. Custom OData web services are exposed with a tenant-specific URL. There is no generic Dynamics 365 endpoint for custom web services because they are only deployed by means of an extension to a specific tenant. Authentication for custom web services works similar as the APIs that are explained in another video in this series. You can use OAuth token authentication or create a web service key. For information how to create a web service key, see the video about using APIs with Dynamics 365. Here you see a simple page for a salesperson record. Please mark that this is a card page. That means that it will only show one record at a time when used in the application. However, the behavior as a web service is different. Then it will return all records instead of just one. We are going to publish this page as a web service. The page number is 5130. We need to remember this for our next step. The next step is to create the web service definition. Currently, this is an XML file that holds a tenant web service definition. We need to create this file manually. That might change in the future. In the web service definition, we specify the object type, object ID, the web service name, and if the web service should be published. The object type 8 means page. The object ID is the ID of the page we have created. The service name defines under which name the web service will be available. And with published we specify that the web service should become available immediately after installing the extension. Let's switch to the web client and see that the web service is published after we publish the extension. With the search option we look for web services. In the list we filter it to the number of the page. The URL of the web service can be found under the OData v4 URL column. Let's take a closer look to the URL. We can ignore the tenant parameter because the tenant is already in the host name of the URL. The part up to OData v4 is the base URL of the web services for this tenant. Let's take a closer look at consuming OData web services. For this we use the tool Postman. To learn more about how to use this tool and how to set authentication, you should follow the video about using APIs with Dynamics 365. In the variables we have set the base URL of the tenant web services. Let's first call the base URL and look at the result. You get back a list of all available web services. With the company endpoint, you get a list of available companies. Each company has a name. This name should be used with the company endpoint to get the data for a specific company. The name should be passed as a URL encoded string, as you can see here. The salespeople web service can be called by adding it to the end of this URL, which includes the company name. In this way we get a data set that belongs to this company. In the same way, we can get a specific record by specifying the primary key in the URL. Now we get a single record. The page web service can also be used to manipulate data. To update an existing record, we use the HTTP patch command. In the body, we need to pass a JSON string with the field and value that needs to be modified. Please note that the URL still contains the primary key of the record that needs to be modified. In the headers we specify the content type as application/JSON. And we need to pass the ETag value with the if match header for optimistic concurrency. This value will be checked by the server. We get the latest value by reading the record. Here we copy the value and paste it in the if match header. The web service returns the updated record. With the post command, we can insert a new record. In the body we specify the values of the new record. The web service returns the inserted record. A query is a read-only data stream that can be published as a web service. It is similar to a SQL query and it returns a flat dataset with no nested data items. Publishing and consuming a query is identical to a page web service. The only difference is of course that you now use a query object instead of a page object. Here you see a query object. It starts with a data item of the salesperson table and some fields of this table. Then it joins with a data item of the table sales header based on the value in the field salesperson code. From the sales header table it includes the field number, customer name and the amount. Further possibilities are not shown here, but they are like filter fields and totaling. Publishing the web service for a query is done with the same structure as for the page web service. The difference is the object type. Value 9 stands for query. Let's have a look at the result of this query after the extension has been published. As you can see here, the result set does not contain nested items. Instead, every record contains the values of both data items. This is similar to working with SQL queries. In this video you have seen how to publish and consume a page as a web service and a query web service. So in total we have covered creating web services and creating pages and queries. For more information you can look at the resource displayed on the screen.